Hello everybody, welcome back to another ASMR video. And first things first, I want to thank all of you for 100 subscribers. I appreciate it very much. I'm currently at 102, but yeah, we just surpassed 100 subscribers and I appreciate you all very much. I will continue posting more videos like these in the future. If you guys enjoy this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. This video, I will be reading you guys some short scary stories with some rain sound effects in the background to give it a little more spookiness to these stories. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoy, and that's about it. I'll start now. Alright, goodbye. This first story is called I'm Still Here. I came home pretty late one night, and my roommate's bedroom was shut, and I assumed she was sleeping already, but I saw something out of the corner of my eye in the kitchen. I said her name, but she did not answer. I didn't think anything of it, so I walked into my room, and before I turned on the light, something whispered, "I'm still here." I turned on the light in my room, but nothing was there, so I turned on every light in my house and knocked on my roommate's door, and eventually opened it, but she wasn't there, so I left her light on too, and slept with all the lights on. When she came back the next morning, I asked her if she was messing with me, and she started crying and said she left because something was in the house messing with her, and she had to get out. This next story is called Making Toast. Making toast late one night, facing the kitchen bench, eating for a good 5 to 10 minutes. Cleaned up and turned around, and every single cupboard door and cutlery drawer was open. They were all closed when I went into the kitchen, and there was no way anyone could have snuck in and done it because I was home alone. I also didn't hear them open in the time I was there. Scared the shit out of me, so I froze, let it register for a few seconds, then calmly closed everything and went back to my room to hide until daylight. One of a few weird things to happen growing up. This next story is called Hello. I went camping by myself in Maine. One night I woke up at like 3 a.m., not being able to fall asleep, so I just laid there listening to the woods. Then I heard a faint hello. I was petrified. I felt so vulnerable in the tent, I never figured out what it was. Next story has no title. I was in a very small town in the middle of nowhere in southeast Washington. I parked on the highway at a place Google says is a store. I heard a voice from the distance calling, "We break down?" I yelled back, "No," and stared toward the store. The voice called out, "It's closed." I thanked the voice. When I left, I drove by the house where the voice was coming from. Nobody was there. The curtains were open, but it was dark inside, even at dusk. No cars were in the driveway. Nobody. This next story is called Fear of Horses. My great-grandmother told me about her uncle. He was deathly afraid of horses, and he always claimed, quote-unquote, they weren't what they seemed. Apparently, when he was a boy, he was walking home alone, and as he came over the top of a hill, he looked down into a valley below. He saw two horses walking side by side on their hind legs, like people. They continued to walk until they came to a fence, which they climbed over. They continued to walk for a distance, and then they got down on all fours and began grazing. This next story is called Baby in the Road. One night, my friend was out driving in his truck in the Maine countryside. It was a remote area where you could drive for hours without seeing civilization. There were just trees and more trees that stretched on for miles. He was driving alone when he suddenly saw something in the road up ahead. He stopped the car to take a look, but he couldn't quite make it out. Whatever it was moving very, very slowly. It was a baby doll, and it was being slowly dragged across the road by a string. He ran back to his truck and drove out of there as fast as he could. This next story is called Phone a Friend. One evening, I was on my way to my best friend's house. As I was driving on the motorway, I got a call from him. He said he might be a little late because he had been out shopping, but he was on his way home. At that point, while I was still on the phone with him, I ran into a traffic jam on the motorway. I told him I would probably be late as well. We continued our conversation and the traffic slowly started to move again. I told my friend that it looked like there had been an accident on the motorway. He asked if I could see what had happened. As I was coming up to the scene of the accident, I told him that a car had hit the barrier and flipped over. There were paramedics loading a dead body into the back of an ambulance. My friend let out a long sigh and said, "What a shame." At that very moment, the phone suddenly hung up. It was my friend who died in the crash that night. The police said he was killed on impact. This next story has no title. One night, a man lay dying in his sick bed. His wife left him with a nurse and went into the next room to take a rest. She sat in the dark, staring out the window into the night. Suddenly, the woman saw bright headlights speeding up the driveway of their house. "Oh no," she thought. "I don't want visitors now, not now." But it wasn't a car bringing a visitor. It was an old hearse with maybe half a dozen strange little men hanging from the sides. At least that's what it looked like. The hearse screeched to a stop. The men jumped off and stared up at her, their eyes glowing with a soft yellow light, like cat's eyes. She watched with horror as they disappeared into the house. An instant later, they were back, lifting something into the hearse. Then they drove off at high speed, wheels squealing, sending the gravel in the driveway flying in all directions. At that very moment, the nurse came into the room. Her face was pale, and she laid her hand gently on the woman's shoulder and told her that her husband had just died.